attitude. The dictionary will define it as it's a frame of mind. It is a way in which we look at something or some situation. It's our interpretation of a situation and the emotions that it generates that make you feel in a certain way and to act in a certain way, and that is what is an attitude. Now, I'll try to explain the attitude with the help of the learnings that we can get from an eagle. Eagle is one of the most daring and amazing bird in the world, and I'm going to talk some of the characteristics and the attitudes of the eagle, and then the learnings that we can adapt in our life from the eagle. So the first attitude of the eagle is that, or characteristic is that eagle has very sharp vision. It can see from a distance of 5 kilometers from the air. Okay, so it's really very sharp. The other characteristic of an eagle is that it flies very high. It flies about 2 to 3 kilometers in the sky. And if an eagle is, when it is flying and it meets another bird, most likely that bird has to be an eagle, because no other birds fly that high. Eagles will never flock around with the pigeons. So the learning in terms of the attitude of the eagle, the first learning is that have a vision and remain focused. Because when an eagle sees a prey, when it is flying, say 2-3 kilometers above in the sky, it zooms in, focuses onto the prey, and it will come in, and the prey is all gone. Right? So that's the first quality of an eagle. The second one is the eagles love the storm. Unlike all the other birds which hide when a storm comes in, the eagles start to rejoice when the clouds start forming. What the eagles do is that they go into the storm and try to use the wings of the storm to rise high. And once they start to use the wings of the storm, they stop flapping their wings and use it to relax themselves. And they're enjoying as they glide through the storms. They enjoy that hugely. So the learning for us from this particular attitude of an eagle is to ensure that we should relish the storms that come into our life, because they provide the biggest opportunity for us to grow as individuals and also to grow in terms of our wealth or in terms of anything in life. For example, the biggest opportunity in terms when you are making the money on the stock market is when the stock market crashes. That is the time when you make the most money. So it's the biggest amount of upside is during the times when the market is down, or which is the biggest storms in your life. So make sure that you learn from those and learn from the eagle in terms of relishing the storms that come your way, because they have an opportunity written all over them. If you're living a mundane, day-to-day routine life, you will have lesser opportunities. It's safe. There's no such thing as safe. Safe has risk written all over it. So you have to choose the path which is more risky. It is the path of more storms, because that's where you can evolve as a better individual, evolve more successful, evolve into achieving the things that you wanted to achieve, and most importantly, you will be able to live. So what is the third characteristic of an eagle and what we can learn from it? During the mating time, when a male eagle sees a female eagle, what they do is the female eagle will rush to the ground and it will pick up a twig, and then it will accelerate itself as high as it can go into the sky, and from there it drops the twig. The male eagle then chases the twig and tries to pick it up before it falls to the ground. Then the male eagle will bring the twig back and give it to the female eagle, who will then again take it as high as it could and drop it again. This process keeps going. The female eagle will keep going high, dropping the twig. The male eagle will go in, pick the twig and return it back to the female eagle. The process continues till the female eagle feels that it is fine, and the interest of the male eagle is really very visible to her. Okay, so what is the learning in this? The learning is that whenever we are getting into a business partnership, or when we are we are identifying our partners, we need to test their commitment. This is all done because of the commitment of the partners. Because if there is a person who runs away with the first challenge that comes your way, then that partner is not the real one for you, right? It can be business, it can be your life, it can be your friends. It is very important to do that. Okay, so that's really, really important. Someone has said something here. This is some great dating advice from. Okay, these eagles. Okay. Then the fourth one, the learning that we can drive is when the eagles are creating the nest. They make the nest out of a few things. Like they will have the twigs, they will use the thorns, they will use their feathers, and they will try to make it like a lot of thorns on the outer edges to prevent the predators from entering the nest. That's really important. So what does it mean for us is that we should always be prepared against competition. So that's the learning that we can have, and that should be our attitude. The other very important element is how the eagles train the young ones to fly. So when the young ones become a little bit older, what the mother would do is the eagle throws its young ones from the top of the cliff. So the young fledglings start to like flap, but they are unable to. But before they could fall, the male eagle goes in and supports them on its own feathers and brings it back. Then the mother throws them again, and this process continues till the young ones start to learn how to fly. So this is whole an idea of a concept that I had given earlier in one of my previous talks, which is like you need to vaccinate yourself. And this is the concept of vaccination, is that you in a controlled environment, you put the germs of the disease so that your white blood cells can overcome those, so that when they're real, and they become really powerful, and so that when the real disease attacks you, they're strong enough to overcome it. So in the same way, if you're afraid of something, like you want to learn something, create an environment, a test environment where we are in a safe environment, you are able to emulate what is going to be in the real situation. And once you practice that, you become better. That's what the eagles are showing us that we need to do. So always be prepared. That's the best thing. Like a lot of people will tell you that when they come in and have a performance, there's a lot of work that goes in private for a superb public performance. So that is important, that we need to keep in mind. And the last thing about, and the most amusing thing that I find in the eagles, is that they have the longest life amongst all the birds. They live to be about 70 years. But at the age of 40, something dramatic happens to them. So what they do is, what happens to them is that their beak, which they use for killing the prey, becomes bent. Okay? Their talons, the strong ones which they use to lift and kill their prey, they also turn inwards. Their big wings, they start to move towards their chest, and they are unable to move them. So what they do is, at the age of 40, they go up on top of a mountain, and then they start to hit their beak on a stone. They continue doing this till the time the beak falls. Okay? They do the same thing for the talons, and then they start plugging the feathers that it becomes like completely bare skinned, the eagle. And then it waits. It waits for 5 months for the talons, for the feathers, and for the beak to reappear. And once it all reappears, it flies again from the top of the cliff and lives to be another 30 more years. That is a great lesson that we can learn from the eagles, is the reinvention that we need to go through in our lives. I meet a lot of people who just say, well, it happened, I missed the opportunity, I didn't have this or I didn't have that. Whereas life is all about, till the time you're alive, you can achieve anything. It's just a matter of reliving yourself, reinventing yourself. Go after the goals that you have always cherished to. Who's stopping you? It's only you yourself who stops yourself from achieving certain things. And I keep telling people that if you want to change a situation, don't wait for any superhero or Superman or Superwoman to come and change your life. The only superhero in your life is you yourself. So you have to think about it, reinvent yourself, and go after your dreams and aspirations. For me personally, I have done that. I was as some of the people who are on the Facebook would know, I was doing well at P&G. After that, I was the member of the board of directors of ProSieben, but that was not my calling in life. I said I wanted to do something which pleases me, and I started a new journey to create my own consultancy. Moving into a new area, new country, new start, it's not easy. But unless we reinvent ourselves, we will not get the energy, the passion, the drive to enjoy the life. Because at the end of the day, life is all about experiencing it. It's not about success or failure. There's no such thing as success is not final, failure is not fatal. It's only a matter of the experiences that we have to gain while we are alive and to enjoy the life in the way that we want. My only dream in my life is that when I'm dying, whenever that is, I look back and say, I have lived my life with a lot of passion and I enjoyed that. That is all that is to it. So we talked about the learnings that we can derive from an eagle. Now I'm going to share about my own 8 rules to have a great attitude. Okay, so that's just my thoughts. I am not saying that you have to adapt them or to follow those. I'm sure that you will have your own, but it is just good to hear from an inspiration point of view, because I too listen to a lot of people, and many people have been. Some of them are also on the Facebook right now listening to me. Have been an inspiration to me in my life in different ways. So it's always good to share your learnings and with each other. So the first rule is being positive does not mean you deny the negatives. Okay, there are a lot of people who say, and I see it on the Facebook, people are posting left, right and center, be positive, be positive, be positive. Now, certainly by being, what you can achieve by being positive, you will certainly not be able to achieve by being negative. Yeah, I agree. But on the other side, the negatives will not disappear if you become positive. For example, if your garden has a lot of weeds, just by being positive, the weeds will not disappear. You will have to go in, get some chemicals to get rid of the weeds. Otherwise, if you allow the weeds to grow, they might enter your house. So the negatives are real, and it is normal to have these negatives. So we have to embrace the darkness that comes into our life as well, because by embracing the darkness, we can bring in the light, because world or life works in contrast. Okay, for every yin there is a yang, for every night there is a day. So there has to be the contrast. So we have to accept the negatives in our life. Unless we recognize them, we will not be able to do something about it. But keeping our mind positive and taking the negatives in stride and doing something about it, that should be our attitude to life. Okay, and the way we can do it is to amplify the things we want. So in the war of the good and the evil, unless you amplify or strengthen the good, the evil will prevail, right? You all know the story of a Aborigine leader. He was training his son, and he was telling him a story that there were 2 wolves. There was a white wolf and there was a black wolf, and they were having a really fierce fight. So the kids were really excited. Says sometimes the white wolf was on top, sometimes the black wolf was on top. They kept on fighting all day until the evening. They were bruised and they kept fighting. So the kids, after some time, they started to ask the question like, sir, which one win at the last? He said, which one do you want to win? So the kids say, I don't know. Maybe the white one. Some said the black one. He said, whichever one you feed is the one which is going to win. So your mind is exactly like this. If you're going to feed the good thoughts, you're going to feed the positives, it becomes positive. If you're going to feed the negative will win in life. And it's no rocket science. We all know about it. The problem is, how do we create the attitude when the chips are down and things are not working the way we want them to work, is to keep the mind positive and to come out of those crisis situations. So that's the first attitude I give you, is being positive does not mean to deny the negatives in our life, but to embrace them. The second is, attitude comes from your belief system. That's the most important element. Attitude is nothing but a manifestation of your belief system. Okay, so for example, let's take another animal which I like a lot, and that's why you see the logo of my company has a lion on it, and it symbolizes the courage. So when a lion, which is not the largest, is not the tallest, is not the heaviest, and is certainly not the smartest animal in the jungle, yet when a lion goes out and sees an elephant which is many, many times more stronger and powerful than it, it says on its head, or it thinks food or lunch. Okay, whereas when an elephant which is much bigger than a lion sees a lion, it says it's a predator. How do I save myself? That is the attitude. That is the attitude which brings about a lot of change, and that is why the lion is the king of the jungle, despite not being the biggest, heaviest, the tallest and the smartest of all. So, and it would be interesting to think about another thing, which is like, if, in my view, if there was an army of sheep which was led by a lion, I'm sure that it's going to beat an army of lions led by a sheep, because leadership is so important, and the role of the leader is so powerful that they can bring about a step change into the people in terms of the belief system, in terms of what they can achieve, to motivate them to get beyond what they are capable of achieving, right? And that's what a leader can do. So a lion leading a sheep will be much better than a sheep leading a lion. So that's what attitude is about. So the second learning, or the second rule for having a great, successful attitude, is that attitude comes from a belief system. So if you have issues on your attitude, check for the conditioning that you have gone through in your life. So how do you take off some of the conditioning, the poor conditioning that has happened? Keep the beliefs which are the strong ones, which provide you with the strength to move on and march in your life. So keep those, but get rid of those which are the negative ones. Okay. Okay. Next, the number 3 is, no one is responsible for your situation, only you. I repeat it, this is very important. No one is responsible for your situation, only you. I have met so many people in my life who would blame everything from their parents to their environment, to their country, to their situation, not having the resources, being born in the wrong family, being poor, as a reason for not succeeding in life, right? So it's really sad, but what they will not say is that I am responsible for my own situation. And that is something I want to tell everyone, that the situation that you have is subconsciously the one that you actually wanted. Otherwise, you would not have that situation. It's going to be on rarely that, yes, certain times the things can happen, a war or something, and people may be caught into it. That's just hard luck. But in most of the cases, our situation is what we determine. People say things are not working for me, but they're not working and sitting in front of a television. They will never work if you're sitting in front of the television. If you're going to crib about all the things that have not worked for you, nothing will change. You have to get up and do something about it. You have to change your own self. And the first way of doing that is to take ownership of your own life. To say, I am responsible for the life that I have, and I am the one who's going to change it. Okay? And that's what is needed. So the learning is also that no one is coming to save you. Have it very clear. No one is coming to save you. No Superman, no Superwoman, no one will be there to save you. The only superheroes in a life is our own selves. We are the ones who are the superheroes of our life, and we can be the Batman, the Marvel comic hero, or whatever it is, but we are the ones who have to save our own situation, and are the ones who have to determine the plight of the life that we so want to have with us. So that's number 3. Number 4 rule for having a great attitude is always work to raise your standards. What does it mean to raise your standards? Meaning, like, if you have written the last memo for a company, the next memo has to be better than the previous one. It's not about comparing with another individual, but it's comparing with your own self. The last painting that you did, the new one has to be better than the last one that you did, because now You have moved on and you have more experience. You should be able to do better. That is about raising the standards. And raising the standards, what I have learned, is more important when the chips are down, when you are struggling or you have been thrown by life onto the mat. That is the time you have to raise your standard, to rise back again and look at life in the eye and say, I am unshakable, I am unbreakable. That's difficult to do, but that is important. At that time, you have to exercise more. You have to eat right. You have to work harder. You have to create more connections. You have to do all these elements to raise the standard to a level that people themselves come to you and help you achieve the thing that you want to achieve. Right? It's not going to be like, there's no such thing as you're going and saying like, it's your mother to help you out in this situation. No. You have to raise your standards. And I see that many people, when they are down, they not only in that situation, they just give in to the situation and they start feeling depressed. And that's where the problems start. Everyone has to go through the highs and the lows. Sometimes the lows for some people are the highs for other people. Yet, the human mind is such that it makes them feel that the world has not been fair, things have not gone the way that they would have liked to, because when you reach from point A to point B being higher than that, you start already imagining point C, and then point D, point E, and it goes on. But the point is that if you really have to continue on this journey and the path, what you need to do is raise your standards. Keep doing the things better. I have especially I see it, which makes me feel a little bit sad. When I meet some of my old friends, a lot of the people, they have gone into the mode of yeah, we are now very old, life has passed when we were young. And I have never understood this philosophy of age. I have never understood it. Age is only a number. It's only something which is in your mind. It's your perception. If your limbs are good, if your body is good, you maintain it well. What difference does it make if your number is 30, 40, 50, 60, 70? It depends upon how well you are taking care of your body. You would see cars on the road which can be very well maintained and they might be 20, 30 years old, right? If they have been properly taken care of, they will last. And human body is the most sophisticated machinery on the planet. So if you're taking care of yourself, eating right, sleeping well, spending time with the people you like, you are self-motivated, and you're doing meditation, you have your strong belief system with you to support you during the times of crisis, then what is stopping you? And it doesn't matter if the life is 30 or 100, but the quality of the life has to be great, and that can only happen if you raise your standards to be better the next day versus the day before. That's all there is. So have that attitude. Keep going. If you are unable to achieve, don't stop. If one path is stopped, you come from the other direction or from another direction till the time you reach your goals. Okay, so if you are not achieving your thing, the story is not over. The story continues. The movie continues. Number 5, and this is an important one. So breakthrough in life happens when we change our strategy, story, and state of mind. Okay, so I'll repeat it again for you to write it down even. Breakthrough in life happens when we change our strategy, story, and state of mind. So let's take each of these elements and then dissect it to see what is the change that I'm talking about. So the first one is a strategy. What is strategy? Strategy is simply a choice that you're going to learn in your business school. I'm sure you would have done, and many of the people I'm sure have been working in corporations as strategists themselves, but strategy is simply a choice. Okay, it's a way of doing something. So for example, let's make it very, very simple. So for those of you who are foodies and who like the food, if you were asked to make a chocolate cake, unless the people are a great chef, they will struggle. But if you get a recipe of making a chocolate cake and you know the right ingredients to be put in the quantities that have to be put in, and also the utensil and all the other stuff, then you have a very good chance that you will be able to prepare the same quality of cake multiple times. So that's a strategy. So once you know the strategy, then you know how to go about it. And to spend the life, you need to have your own strategy. What is the strategy which is working for you at your work and your life, which enables you to achieve the things that you want to achieve? So strategy is very important. But strategy, even the best strategy, devoid of the next two things that I'm going to talk about, is worthless. Okay? So what are the other two things? The second thing is the story. And what I mean by the story is, in our mind, most of us, the research shows that we are 50% of our all waking time is either in the past or in the future. So we are losing 50%, which is only in the present moment. So that's one thought. And by being in the past or the future, we are talking certain stories, because the past, the reflection of the past, is not factual. It's based upon the interpretation of the mind. So if I asked you to think about an event which has happened in the past, like yesterday, let's forget about like even 10 years back, what your recollection would be will not be factual. It will be more facts twisted based upon your interpretation. Okay, so that's the story that you're telling. There are many people who say they have the story of a victim. Their life has not treated them well, their parents didn't treat them well, they were unable to afford the best universities, colleges. So, and when they keep saying this, the subconscious mind then brings more of that in their life, and that becomes a reality for them. So that's the important thing, is the story that you tell of yourself. What is your character that you're playing in this particular movie, the most important movie, that is the movie of your life? What is the character that you're playing? Are you the hero in the story, or are you a victim in the story? Are you the one who brings about a change, right? Who is the person who is a change agent? Are you the person who is a depressed character? You know, is your story a sad one? Is your story a story of joy? Is your story of an underdog rising to achieve something significant? Or is it your story that you're of a great achiever going down? You know, you are the one. No one else is doing it. You are the one who's writing. You're the author of your life. You are the person who's making your own story, and you can determine it. And it's important. People say that what will be the difference if I say something different? It will have a difference, because it has a subconscious mind. And once it goes into the subconscious mind, you become that person. Okay? So I give you just example of like how the mind works and why story is important. This is again based upon all neuroscience researches. So one research which really fascinated me recently was that the scientists took the poo of a young rat and put it inside an old rat. After a while, the old rat started to have their cell regenerated and became younger. Now you will say, what type of science fiction is this? But this is true, because the mind started to perceive that it was younger because it had now a poo which was younger. So that is the power of the mind. And we talk about other things, but we don't spend so much time into thinking about the mind. You may have heard about neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is the science which says that you can rewire the neurons connections in your brain. So earlier the thinking was that there were different lobes, and within the lobes there were modules, which were like one module was for the eye, another one for the smell, another one was for other stuff, and they were hardwired like a computer, and they don't talk to each other. Now the new thinking is that they are all connected, and through the learning and doing things in a different way, through practicing meditation, you are creating new synaptic connections, which are then rewiring the brain. So you can at any particular point in time rewire your brain, and the best way to do that is by changing the story that you tell yourself. Okay, so that's the first was strategy, second was the story, and the third is the state of mind, the way you think. Okay, so when you change your story, you also change the state of mind, the way you approach things, the way you interpret the situation, your ability to encompass the situation and to focus on your circle of influence instead of circle of concern. That is very important. The words that you use have to be the right ones, because unfortunately the problem with the world is that it's all into the quagmire of issues, right? You listen to the news, it's always about something wrong that happens. They are not going to say that this person got married or this person has had a lovely kid, or this person graduated, they will all be talking about how many people died, what was the catastrophe, what was the famine that has destroyed people, because it sells, right? And that creates a fear in the mind of the people as well. And this is problem because it's also affecting the subconscious mind of the individual. So you have to, within this environment, the world that we have, we cannot change it totally, but we can create a cocoon where we can create springs of happiness and joy for our own self and our mind, so that we are able to achieve things in a great way. Okay, so very, very important for us. So that's number 5. Number 6 is, from an attitude point of view, do good and good will happen. Now a lot of people will think that now I'm getting into the more the ethical part, but it is my learning in terms of the attitude. It's like many people say that I'm going to get even with a person, I'm going to get, I'll teach this person a lesson, and this is very feudalistic type of an approach that people have, and it's very sorry that it's mostly in my part of the world, it's predominant, but it doesn't work. From a karmic law, if you do good, even if someone has done bad, you're going to be the winner in the long run, or at least you don't waste your energy in thinking about how to get even with someone. Because when you're thinking bad about someone, nothing has happened to the other person. You are being affected. And I don't think personally that I want to even waste an iota of my energy thinking about people who have caused me pain or a problem. I just take them out of your mind and out of your life, because there's no point in negatively thinking about someone, because the only person you are affecting is your own self, and it's not worth for your own good to be doing that. Okay, so I may give you it might be a little bit of a digression, but there was a very good story, a short story that I had heard about. So there was a Zen Master, not a Zen Master, it was samurai, sorry. He went to a Zen Master, and he wanted to know the difference between heaven and hell. So he went to the Zen Master and he said, who was in meditation, and he stopped his meditation and asked, Zen Master, what is the difference between heaven or hell? So the Zen Master continued with his meditation and did not respond. So the samurai asked again, Zen Master, what is the difference between heaven or hell? The Zen Master continued with his meditation. He didn't even look at the samurai. The samurai got really, really, really angry, and he took his sword out and he wanted to behead the Zen Master. At that point, the Zen Master said, this, my friend, is hell. So the samurai felt really, really bad, and he put his sword in his scabbard, and he was really, really ashamed of what he was doing. So his eyes were down, and he said, I'm really very sorry. At that point, the Zen Master said, this, my friend, is heaven. So that is the difference between, it's all in the mind. It's not about you want to rise to be a really great guy who has been appreciated by, or girl appreciated by people. No, it's for your own selfish needs. If you are good, you are creating an internal ecosystem which is happy and satisfied and calm. It has nothing to do with outside world. It's just so that you can live your life in peace and calm. Well, just think about it. Like if you bring a thought which roils you or it makes you angry, the entire body starts to act as if like it becomes like really tense, it's stressed, it's anxious. Or if you think about something really pleasant, then you start to feel as if in the moment you're feeling the calmness. So why cause yourself stress? There's no point to have animosity with your own self. So we talked about the 6 rules right now. The 7th one is an interesting one. The 7th one says that change the environment around you. If you want to change yourself, change the environment around you. And in today's time, it is becoming easier than ever before, right? So in the modern world, with the social media being so powerful, you can bring anything to your own living room, right? You can go onto the YouTube, you can listen to the best philosophers, thinkers. If you want to know about quantum mechanics, or you want to know anything, you can do that, right? So if you want to bring about, like say, I want to be more motivated in life, you're not going to be motivated in life if you're spending the time with people who are always critical. You cannot be. So you have to be in the company of motivated people, and science says that when you are in the company of people, you also become like those. So try to spend time with people who are motivating, who inspire you, who help you, see the things in a positive frame of mind and a frame of light, right? So that's important to be able to do that. I define this, and I've talked this several times. I have a concept where I say there are people who are zappers and the people who are sappers. Okay, so what is zappers and sappers? Zappers are people whom when you meet, you feel like zapped, like a current gets into you. You feel like, you're able to achieve anything in life. You will be able to do whatever. The biggest challenge doesn't seem to be big anymore. You feel the best thing after discovery of sliced bread, right? You feel like the best thing after the discovery of sliced bread. Then you meet people who are sappers. You meet them and your energy is all drained, and you ask the question, why was I born? You start questioning yourself, why was I born in the first place if life is the way it is? And unfortunately, there are so many sappers all around us, and we have to find the zapping part in ourselves. And how can we be with the zappers? By becoming zappers ourselves. So each one of us have a role to play. We have to be zapping for our family, zapping for our friends, zapping to even the strangers that we meet. The small interactions that we have to be zapping, have to be giving the energy to each other. And that is important, because what you give comes back to you through the karmic law. So try to change the environment. If you want to become like, learn about quantum mechanics, and you're sitting with people who are literature, who talk literature or who have the experience, you're not going to get there. You have to be in the company of people who can be, who know something about quantum mechanics. It can be through your research, through YouTube, through whatever ways, taking classes. That is what needs to happen. So change the environment around you. Okay, so that would be the second. And the last element of having a great attitude is the power of giving. The power of giving is huge. And giving doesn't mean that you just offer a charity during the month of Ramadan. That's not it. Or during Christmas. Giving is you're giving your time. You're giving your knowledge. You're sharing what you have. And sharing doesn't mean that you just post something from Buddha onto the Facebook and your responsibility is over. No. Giving is also understanding, like having an attentive ear to listen to someone. Giving your time, and giving the time in today's time is the most difficult thing to give for someone. And I've seen so many people, they feel alone, they feel depressed because there's no one to talk to them. Not everyone is strong enough to find their own springs of happiness and joy. They are seeking help from the other people. And it's so unfortunate that people don't have the time. You ask them and they say they're busy. Busy with what? Busy with, really, I have this question, like busy with what? I have been also worked as a corporate executive or whatever, flying to like 5 countries in 4 days and living a very, very jet set life. But the point again is that still you can find time with that, because anytime what you're doing is like sitting in a meeting talking the same thing again and again and again and again and again with no actions being taken. But you enjoy that because you associate activity with value creation. But value creation and activity are completely different things. So you need to know, and life is not only about one dimension. It's not about achieving a position in your work or amassing the wealth. It's about having happiness. It's about having good health. It is about having a good family. It is about having some wealth so that you can spend on the family, provide them with the right education. It's about having good emotional built up, in yourself. So it's also about having the spirituality, right? So all those elements, a bit of each. It's not about and having a balanced scorecard or balanced life is much better. And generally the system of the world is such that we only look at people say in Nelson Mandela, and then we say I think he's one of the most amazing human beings who have ever lived on the planet. But The guy was in jail for 27 years, right? Then he fought for the apartheid. But do I want to be like Nelson Mandela? At least not me. Okay, I want to have a life. I don't want to be known. I don't want to leave any legacy. If no one remembers me when I'm gone, thank you. It doesn't matter, because anyway I'm gone, so what difference does it make if someone remembers or not remembers? And I don't know why people are caught up into that, my legacy and this. Once you're gone, who cares? The important thing is that take this life for what it is. It's a blessing given by God. What was the chance of you being born? It was 1 in a billion chance, and you made it. So why not take the opportunity of living the life in the best possible way? And the best way to live is by giving. Is giving of your time, giving of your knowledge, sharing things, so that cumulatively it becomes much more. So this was this brings me to the end of the talk on attitude, and I'll be happy to answer any questions, or if you have any thoughts which I can convey to the entire followers on Facebook. So I leave it now to the audience to give you some comments or your own thoughts, or if you have any questions. I see one here which says, Alicia is saying, being positive makes you feel good and energized, so you can actually get up and do something. Agreed. Okay, so this was just she was just supporting the stuff that I was saying. Anyone else? I think I see some of the people on here whom I know, and there are some truly amazing individuals, and it would be great to hear what they have to say. There's another one who says, completely agree, it's all about being positive. Okay, yeah, positive, but recognizing the negatives as well. Any other thought? Anyone? No? I give another half a minute. It would be nice if someone else provides their perspective, their thoughts. That would make it more interactive instead of me talking for near the last 45 minutes. Okay, so what I would really be happy if you can provide your comments. That would be very helpful for me, if was it helpful or not. And secondly, I want to let you know that tomorrow at 5 o'clock Dubai time, I'm going to have another session, and this time I'm going to have the session on my reflections. So what I've done is, like, tomorrow is my big birthday. I will turn 50-year-old, okay, 50, that's the golden jubilee. And for that, what I've done is I have written an article talking about my reflections on life and my philosophy. So before I take, as in the cricketing term, because I love cricket, taking the guard again to play the second innings of my life, I have put my reflections, and I'm going to share those reflections with the people who are interested and would be happy to join us at 5 o'clock Dubai time before the opening of the Rosa. So with that, thank you so much, and always a pleasure speaking with all of you, and I wish you a great evening, a great month, great year ahead of you, where the most positive attitude always, and make your life a bliss. Thank you, and have a good evening.